Hello and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast. My name is Mike Williams. I'm joined by Gareth Evans and Jake Kulkowski. This one is going to be a different one this week because it's the last one that we're recording in this room.
It's moving day today.
Yeah, we're moving offices today.
We've taken down some of the soundproofing, so you might already tell that it's a little bit of a sound difference.
It sounds a bit shit, doesn't it? Yeah, well that's why.
A bit echoey.
Yeah, so we're moving offices and they're just kind of bigger space and stuff, isn't it, I guess?
Oh yeah, it's a huge upgrade.
It's going to make the recording a lot easier and stuff like that. You know, it's going to be easier to move around from one format to another. Like, because at the moment we're having to reshuffle the whole room just to go from a podcast to a normal video, for example. So things like that will be a lot easier. So yeah, it's pretty exciting, and we're doing the bulk of the move this week, and that's why the podcast is going to be different.
In fact, it's in a couple of hours, which is why
we're like literally the van is coming in a couple of hours. So it's a big day for us, really. We're also
on that note. Do you want to carry on?
Go on.
On that note, because we are upscaling, we've got more room, we've got more space. So we are currently looking for interns to come and join us, help us to do some research, and I'll leave a link in the description of this video if anyone is in the North Wales area is interested to join the team, do some work with us, get some experience.
And you're good at stuff.
And you know about gaming. That's the important thing. You know about gaming, and you're good at researching at the very least. Just to throw that out there for you guys that you might be interested or not. I don't know. Link in the description.
So that's it. It's a big podcast. I don't even know what episode it is. Like
it's 28. 28.
Yeah. 28. So normally we have like some kind of set topics that we like to go through and stuff. But this week is going to be a little different. There's going to be a few smaller topics, I guess, and we're going to spend a while on your comments and questions. We had so many last week that it was awesome. Some good questions to get into. So anyway, that's all the formalities out of the way, I guess. Skyrim VR, right? We're talking about games that are, I don't know, I guess they come out in some form early on, so like a beta or a demo, or they're revealed, people get hands-on with it in game expos and stuff like that. And they're just disappointing. Like, people don't really like them. People aren't too keen on what they're seeing, and they want to see some big changes. So you get some bad publicity, you get bad feedback, bad press early on. But then, that might result in a better game later on. So the big one recently is Skyrim VR, isn't it, guys? Because the feedback for that has not been
What was the criticism, and where was it?
It was pretty dire, to be honest.
This is one that I'm really excited about. So I was like, VR, Skyrim, that's what we need. That's what I said from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So this like early impressions of the PSVR, because it's PSVR only, was quite like, I was taken aback by it. It was like, people saying this is actually shit.
Yeah.
What is it about it?
Not even kind of disappointing. Like, shit. Yeah. Like, really not good.
So what is it about?
So here's some quotes that I've pulled together. Okay, so Super Bunny Hop, the YouTuber, that was one of the bigger critics of it, I guess. They said movement is all wrong. So it's a teleporter rather than walking, which is kind of standard for VR. If you've never played VR,
that is standard for VR.
You choose a location on the ground and you teleport towards that. So that's kind of how you move in Skyrim. So that's all wrong.
There's a big reason for that, is because it stops you getting motion sickness. So I don't know whether that criticism is leveled from somebody who's not experienced in VR or not. That's my question.
Ironic for a guy called Super Bunny Hop. He's a bit.
To be complaining about it. It's what he was saying was that you part of the charm of Skyrim. I totally agree with this. Actually, part of the charm of Skyrim is walking through the world, like genuinely just walking through it, seeing what comes out of the trees towards you and stuff, and just breathing it all in with the music and stuff. But you're just jumping around in this. So that's one of his criticisms. His others were that combat is all wrong. So combat is just shite. He says that it's just floaty, like you're just constantly firing a flamethrower with your left arm, because you've got magic spells and stuff like that in Skyrim, obviously, and then the right arm you're just kind of swinging the wand around, and it's basically VR combat that's been just kind of squeezed into a traditional kind of RPG game, and it's like trying to fit a square into a circle in a kind of kids play toy type scenario, so it just doesn't fit, right? The enemy AI hasn't been adjusted for VR, so there's still the same Skyrim enemies, like the things they go through is not suitable for VR, and the visual settings have been lowered to, and I quote, garbage mode to make it work in VR. So it looks like shit as well.
Yeah, that's one criticism for PSVR, and that was one of the limitations compared with like HTC Vive or the Oculus Rift, for example, is that the PSVR is lower resolution, and that was one of my main, like, hang on, it's only on PSVR. Well, that's lower resolution. It's not going to run as well as it could on the other higher things. So maybe that's limitations of the hardware. But
it doesn't end there, though. Dreamcast guy is another big critic of it. So he agrees that the combat is super rubbish, but he says it's super simplified, right? So he says that they've reduced the number of enemies, so you're never crowded, which it does happen in Skyrim. You can have multiple enemies on you at any time. It's always like one-on-one, and it's always rubbish one-on-one, and it's always like boring and too simplistic. So again, kind of saying what Super Bunny Hop is saying, that the combat mechanics of Skyrim do not work with VR. And he's also saying that it's basically an empty world. So you're hopping around an empty world that's no fun to be in. So they're all pretty fundamental complaints about the game that aren't, how can you change them? But do you think there's enough time, and do you think that Bethesda will have the will to delay this and make it a better game?
I think it's beautiful that they do get this criticism right now, because Bethesda, they're known for not having their no review policy. You're not allowed to play the games before they get released these days. Now this is the exceptions to the rule, because everyone's played Skyrim anyway.
This is meant to be a hype building thing for them, wasn't it? Really.
Yes. But getting this feedback right now, I think it's perfect, because we don't want this. If this is an issue and this breaks the game and it makes it boring, then we want to hear about it now before it gets released. They want to have time to fix it before they release it. It's due out in the end of November. On the PSVR.
That's just a side note for anyone that's not caught on yet. I'm assuming these guys have played it like PAX West or Gamescom.
It was in August, demos. So they were at shows. So
like I was just saying,
they've got 2 or 3 months.
It's a hype building exercise. They are so cocky with Skyrim and they showing them. But I mean, what those problems are there, right? I don't think they're going to change the movement. Do you think that they'll do that?
No, you can't.
What they need to do is implement a choice. So if you want to move by walking and get motion sickness, you've got that choice. I've played games where you've got the choice. There's different ways. There's like 3 or 4 different ways they can implement it. That's what they need.
I think it's too late a stage in the development process now to change things like that, unless they do it after launch, right? So they just have to deal with what they got now, because it's too late. And then maybe before Christmas, and maybe they can add another option.
They might be able to implement more enemies in. That doesn't, that can't be that hard to do, I suppose. Because what they've done is they've took enemies out, so just put them back in sounds even easier. But
then the AI might mess up. I mean, they've got work basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do. I mean,
the pretty fundamental complaints.
I think the main point in this is they've got lots of time to fix it. So they've got less of an excuse when it comes out, because it's not like people have just said this 2 days before. This is months.
The point is that it's good news that this criticism is there. People might say, "Oh, well, don't criticize the game; it's not out yet." Well, that's the point of criticism, so that they can fix the things for when it comes out, and that's why I'm really excited that they've actually shown it off before.
So, and that's kind of continues the conversation in a sense, because these were tech demos to show off what the game can do, and you have to convince people that VR is good before you can sell it to them. So that's what this was supposed to be. Another thing that companies do, obviously, is put games in beta, and that explicitly is it's supposed to be, please tell us what the problems are with this game. Tell us what the bugs are, tell us what the glitches are, and how it balances and stuff like that, and we will address that for the final version. So that's intentionally looking for errors, even though you could say these days they treat it just as demos and hype building exercises themselves, but they're supposed to be like bug testing and stuff. So a couple of big examples of games that have entered beta and come out completely different, or at least been shown to the public in an open sense, like a beta, and have come back with really negative feedback. Battlefield Hardline for me is one of the most memorable, because that was put out into public beta in 2014, right? And it was just like proper cops and robbers. It was a very different game to Battlefield, but players just didn't like it, because it just didn't have the drama and the scale of a Battlefield game. It didn't have the destruction and the chaos that you wanted from a Battlefield game. So they delayed it for 6 months. And they changed the balance of the multiplayer. They changed it so that it was a lot closer to that proper Battlefield experience, and you end up with a different game in 2015 than was shown off to the public beta. So that shows that it can be really positive having that, like you said, guys, having that negative feedback early enough, right, that something can be done about it. There's also Final Fantasy 14, Jake, was in there.
Yeah, there was. That was actually released, that came out. Final Fantasy 14, as you know and love it now, is called Final Fantasy 14: A Realm Reborn, and that's because Final Fantasy 14 came out in 2010. It completely flopped. People hated it, and because obviously it's online only, they just shut the servers down, disappeared for 18 months and came back with a whole different game, which is like what some people, like, you know, it's unheard of that, because it's like, imagine No Man's Sky just completely shut down. You try to log into the game and it was like, sorry, come back in a year, and it came back as a whole different game. Final Fantasy doesn't catch any heat for that, though. People seem to have forgot that. A lot of people don't know that. That's like a cool little fact, but it has happened, and they took feedback on board. Final Fantasy 14 is actually one of the best MMOs I've ever played, and in fact doing rather well for itself still now. And to think that in 2010 that was completely shit game. The world was different, the people looked different, the combat was different, so many differences, and that's all from feedback, and that's one of the best examples.
And that's why they call it Reborn, because it was thrown back in the womb and reborn.
And rebirthed. Sounds a bit occult, that.
Pretty grim. It does happen though, and it's not just betas. It's games that literally come out. Games that another thing that can happen as well, obviously, is a game that might be released, and then the first edition of that, the first installment of that series might be shite. Right? I'm thinking like Assassin's Creed, for example. That was loads of hype for Assassin's Creed before it came out, and then it was so like, you know, it was like 6 out of 10 kind of reviews for it and stuff like that, because it was it was very repetitive. It had a very cool core foundation of stuff to do, but it was very, very repetitive, doing the same thing over and over again. Then Assassin's Creed 2 comes out, just elevates that series to like, yes, this is proper, this is AAA gaming. It turned Assassin's Creed into a franchise, and that was Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed 2 did that. They learned the mistakes from the first one and turned it around for the second one. You know, what happened after that is another thing entirely. But they turned it around with Assassin's Creed 2. I mean, with COD and Destiny, they're recent examples, aren't they? I mean, what were some of the complaints about the Destiny beta, for example, Jake?
For me?
Yeah, well, everyone? Just generally.
Right, no snipers. I mean, any game these days, no snipers. No snipers in COD, no snipers in Battlefield.
I want to shoot people in the head from far away.
Do you play Sniper Elite, dude? I mean, fucking hell. You're just playing the wrong games.
Yeah. He's been watching a podcast last week, hasn't he? They've changed snipers to heavy weapons. They've changed the weapon types. They've changed heavy ammo. They've changed charge times.
So those two are big ones, right? So the charge time. So you got super attacks in Destiny that build up over a little while, and once they're fully charged, you can unleash a super attack, which is awesome usually, and it's very destructive or very, very powerful to help your teammates in some way. It took way too long for that to charge up. Right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned the super ammo as well, the special ammo.
Yeah, hard to find special ammo, wasn't it?
But there's barely any, and those were two of the key complaints from the beta, right? And they've addressed that. They've made those changes, and they sound very minor, but they are very meaningful, because it just changes the way you play the game completely. It changes it from being a frustrating experience to a fun experience, if those were things that bothered you. Yeah. And they're pretty significant changes. COD as well. COD is literally just left beta. They had the private beta for World War II, didn't they?
Yeah, the second weekend was just gone, yeah.
So they've made a lot of, again, minor but meaningful changes to that. They've changed the score limit on Team Deathmatch, because it was a bit, well, they're looking at it at the very least, because it was too high. People are saying you need to kill 100 players, or you need to reach a score of 100 to finish, to win the round or whatever. But that rarely ever happened, because there wasn't enough players in the game. So they kind of changed that. There's even potential map changes. This is something that you were saying.
I am so happy, right? I'm so chuffed that what I said, because I thought it was personal to me, because of the sniping thing. Because when you're sniping, you don't move around, do you? You're quite static, yeah?
I don't know, mate.
Right, you're camping, basically.
I fight like a man.
Yeah, I mean,
I class it as turtling, because you do have to move, or else you're going to get killed, but you have to move slowly. Honestly, like, you are kind of camping at one spot to another, but they know where you are, right? But every time you die on COD, you get shot in the back or the side, and I kept getting pissed, like, fucking shot at the side again. I started running gunning, still getting shot at the side. And I've noticed that's the biggest complaint, and it's quote-unquote the Swiss cheese maps. Too many holes, too many labyrinthian little places. And I'm so happy that wasn't like me just being a miserable old bastard who's just overdone COD. It looks like this has been a fucking serious issue.
Yeah, this is genuinely something
they addressed it, and
well, they've not said we have changed this in this map, but they said that is a serious problem that players have consistently brought back to us. It's very difficult to have long range combat in these maps, and in some of these maps specifically. There's one in particular that they singled out as well, and it was. saying that they encouraged short, close combat.
The trench map.
Trenches. So they want to encourage long range play, and that's something that they are looking to address, which I guess is something that's not easily fixed. Changing the layout of a flipping
and the size of your map, because like I'm saying again, sniping. This is what I mean. I feel like I'm the fucking mouthpiece representative of all snipers out there community. Now. But how can you snipe if people are in trenches? And that was a good bit of validation, that because I felt like I was just being a little bitch.
To me, that's a huge change. if it's COD is all about the multiplayer, really, isn't it? And to have such a focus on the multiplayer and designing multiplayer maps is a very precise bit of art, isn't it? And the fact they want to change that potentially before the game comes out is huge.
Courses in level design and shit. Multiplayer level design. That's like you can do courses and shit on that. So and then it's important.
You add to that the fact you've got huge teams of people doing that level design. It's not an easy thing to do.
So if they do change those maps, that's a lot of work, basically, isn't it? I mean, like Dr. Disrespect, he used to be a level designer, didn't he? And he left because it was too much work. But if they managed, he did.
Fair games instead.
Yeah, if they managed to do that, then fair dues to them, because Activision are listening to these beats and they are changing them. Fair dues with Destiny, they've changed them, and it's weird. Like the Destiny leak, innit? The Destiny leak happened the other day. All the feedback seems to be taken on board. It seems so positive. It seems so positive that like you and a lot of people, and to be fair, I'm not saying you're conspiracy theorists, because there's a high chance that they've leaked it themselves, but people are saying that because it seems a bit too good to be true. And maybe it's just because they took the feedback on board and they've ran with it. But so far, Activision look like, and credit where credit's due, they're taking this feedback on board.
Yeah.
And that is what we want to see from Bethesda.
They want to make money, don't they? That's the thing. They can't let. They need these franchises to survive, and they need them to make money, because they rely on Call of Duty and, to a growing extent, Destiny to make a lot of money for them, because they spend a lot of money on them to protect that as well. They need that income. They need the revenue every year. So it is good for us that they want to make these products better and listening to community feedback.
That is the point. I think that it's not good enough anymore to just make a game in your own vision and think that's good enough.
Yeah,
it's so important to listen to the feedback and make the game that your fans want you to make.
Especially
and that's
multiplayer, right?
Yeah, especially multiplayer, and that's the way that they should be thinking about it now. These games developers, and hopefully that's the way going forward they will do it.
And so, just a couple of final points on this. Then this is a very pro-consumer thing, isn't it? Right? This is a good thing that's happening. I think people should understand that.
So long as Bethesda start listening about the Skyrim shit, I mean, we can't rely on them, can we?
Yeah, exactly. I think more publishers and more developers should put their games in the hands of the communities for free before the game comes out.
Well, that for free being a key word there, because bear in mind, guys, the Destiny beta and the COD beta feedback was made by players that had paid to enter.
Yes, you have to pre-order.
That's important, not just tech demos. Guys, can I just ask you quick, with Skyrim VR, a lot of the criticism seems to revolve around combat. Do you think that's not really going to translate into Fallout 4, no? Do you think that you're worried about Fallout 4 VR having the same thing?
The thing I'm worried about with the Fallout 4 VR is again the movement, because if you're teleporting from one place to another place, like the shooting combat, I don't know how that's going to work, and that's my fear for like the Fallout 4 in combat. That's why I said that as Skyrim, because we played a game called Vanishing Realms, and it was kind of like Skyrim in VR, where you've got the melee combat, and that was really immersive, and really it was a great experience. So that's why I said Skyrim VR would be good. Fallout 4 VR. It's a huge world that you can get your teeth into, but whether the combat translates well in VR is another thing, and that's my reservation with that.
And just specifically on that topic, I think what the problem with Skyrim and VR and everything, the games need to be designed for VR. I reckon. I think Bethesda have made a very brave decision trying to make the Fallout 4, Skyrim, and Doom. They want to make these games into VR games, like. But I think they need to be designed from the ground up. Even if you are calling it Skyrim, and it is Skyrim with the Skyrim world and storyline, you need to rebuild the game.
Allowances.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, on the back of that, going off the experience that they're having now, translating Fallout 4 and Skyrim into VR and Doom, they'll get a lot of experience as to how to build a world in VR. So hopefully they'll come up with a total new IP or like a different version of a game in future based on using all the experience that they've gathered developing or trying to translate these games into VR, and hopefully they come up with something really special.
Yeah, and that goes back to the whole topic, doesn't it? You get bad feedback for one thing, and whether or not that improves that one game, or you come out with a sequel down the line, or a completely different game down the line, you've learned lessons from that bad feedback early on. And bad feedback can be very, very useful. It can be very beneficial for us as gamers and for the companies as well to make more money.
Totally.
So that's it. So now we've got a new feature, hopefully. Hopefully this is going to be a recurring one. So we've already introduced Fact of the Week, which is already a smash hit, of course. But here's another one. This is the 30-second Throwdown. Okay. This is, we do a lot of complaining on the channel, but this is like a concentrated half a minute of fury, okay, and it doesn't have to be about anything in particular in the games industry. I reckon. I think if it's something that you've seen mentioned a lot in the comments, I reckon
anything that triggers you, basically.
Anything that triggers you,
basically
like,
therapy.
As long as we're not talking about
it is therapy.
So as long as we're not talking about parking spaces and stuff like that, as long as it is in some way relevant, it's allowed on the 30-second Throwdown. So to kick us off this week, Jake is going to do a 30-second Throwdown about... Do we need a jingle first?
Some death metal for 2 seconds.
Some death... Okay.
All right, let's get into it. I'm going to look at the clock.
All right,
30 seconds.
I'll get
I can see it from here.
I'll say the topic, and when I say the topic, that's when you start, all right? So, okay, 1, 2, 3... Destiny 2, Jake, go.
Right, I got Destiny 2 from Simply Games the other day, and the good news is that they sent it me and it ships early. It ships today. I'm receiving it today. The game's not out till tomorrow, so that's great news, isn't it? Can you remember the time when you used to get a game early? Really exciting news, right? Wrong, because when I get this motherfucking game, I'll plug it in, I'll put it in, and then it'll say, oh, you can't play it until the servers go live. What the fuck is that all about? I can't play the game. I got 1 day early because of stupid server problems.
Not 5 second warning, Jake. 5 second warning.
So that's all I've got to say. Fuck Destiny 2 until tomorrow.
There you go. That was the 28-second Throwdown.
Yeah,
very nicely done there, Jake.
It was nice.
Pressure's on for next week now. We got to perform. So yeah, that is kind of annoying, isn't it? That's like
you can't play the single-player version of the game until they switch on the servers.
Yeah, exactly. It's even a one-player game, like Gaz is saying there. Fair enough if it was multiplayer only.
Yeah.
But it's single-player only, and that joy of receiving something early and feeling like you've cheated Planet Earth is gone. So there we go. That's the thing.
It might be a good thing in disguise because you might hate the game. I mean, we had No Man's Sky. You had No Man's Sky early.
Yeah.
You liked it. Early, you liked it for that early access, but by the time that get released, it was a different story.
Yeah. No Man's Sky was good for 5 hours. Remember? The problem I have got with that stuff, that online, the servers don't go live till midnight on release day, is like. There's no reviews. There's no internet discussion about it that isn't completely promotional and exciting about the game. That isn't positive. Like, 7 things you must do when you fire up Destiny for the first time. All that shit, right?
Not that we would do that.
No,
shouts out PlayStation Access.
It's
Game ranks.
But I love them all. We do like them all.
Yeah, no, we're big fans of that stuff. But it's just like. That's all that's there now. There's no conflicting opinions. There's no actual conversation about the game and how the game actually is. Because the servers aren't live. It just defends the publisher from review.
And even more confusing, at 4 PM today, people from New Zealand are going to be able to be playing it because it's midnight there.
Can't you change your area in Steam? Region?
You'll have to change. You'll have to make a new tag. You have to make a whole new PlayStation account. Because remember, I'm on console because it's not on PC for another month or two. So I'm whinging about waiting a day. I'm not waiting until October. You know what I mean? But so that's it. It's not even consistent. So like at 4 o'clock, if you're from New Zealand, you can play it. I'm playing it at midnight. People from Europe will be playing it at 11 o'clock at night. It seems very unusual. But
you'll be playing it before the US.
I'll still be playing it before the US. Yeah, I'll be
quit your fucking moaning.
But surely their defense is always like, it's an online game, and that's something that supporters of the game or whatever would say in the comments. It's an online game. How do you expect people to review it? But there's got to be something like a week. You let the game go live for a week to reviewers, influencers. There's enough people doing what we do now, doing this shit on YouTube and stuff. That like matchmaking and all that shouldn't be a problem. Like just having servers specifically for reviewers so that you can give people a proper, reliable review before the game comes out. Which is like surely it's like a basic thing, right? Surely you should be able to have reviews of that live because people are buying it blind now. They just don't know if it's any good or not, and all they've got to go on is the beta and hype videos.
And
the leak,
And that 30-second Throwdown turned into a 4-minute rant. But,
Yeah, but it wasn't all me.
You didn't even notice the transition. It was another topic. It was a Destiny 2 topic that was completely came out of nowhere. See.
Mike did plan a Destiny 2 topic.
Yeah, it did.
So that was, it was all
without
organic.
having to say, here's the Destiny 2 topic.
Yeah.
So Darkwood is the next topic.
It's just a short one, guys. I just want to let you know, as a follow-up from last week, I did play Darkwood, the game that they said, hey, pirate it or whatever. So I did.
Yeah.
And then...
Sorry, just a bit of context. The Darkwood's the game that the developer said, you should, I'd rather you download it and pirate it free than... buy it on G2A because it's a dodgy site.
Oh yeah, so they didn't say pirate it preferably. They said pirate it instead of getting it from G2A.
Not only that, they actually put it live on themselves.
They put a version, a safe version on there, so you weren't going to get.
So I played it. Subsequently, I sent them the link to our video. They were very happy with it. They sent us a copy of the game, and they want to do an interview. So maybe we'll get something out of that, guys. Maybe we'll be able to ask some questions about how Pirate Bay has affected their sales and things like that, and maybe find out a bit more about the G2A beef. But anyway, I digress. The game is pretty damn good, It's like proper survival horror-y, Silent Hill kind of Resident Evil. It's got crafting in it, but really light crafting. Like The Last of Us has got crafting in it, technically. You make a shiv and you make a medipack. There's no bullshit, It's got that in it. Crafting isn't the main thing. It's got some really nice set pieces. You're in these dark woods where there's these like anthropomorphic wolf people. Everything's very weird, and everything affects the game. So there's one place where I just discovered it's like a pig farm, and there's this giant, horrible, overgrown swine in there, which is where which can't move. It's immobilized because it's so fat and decrepit and
sounds awesome.
They're milking it for meat and all that. They're using it for food. This village, and you can choose to kill it, and then if you kill it, go back to the village, and the villagers are all starving and they're all praying, or you can keep them. There's lots of choices like that you make. There's a lot of very interesting enemies. The enemies look cool and act good. There's a lot of scary moments about cheap jump scares, and I like it. One thing that I like is you've got your cone of vision. You kind of become a genome soldier from Metal Gear Solid 1.
That's basically the most noticeable thing about it when you first look at it, isn't it?
You've got like cone of vision. So like, let's say that there's like a wall in front of you, your cone's obscured, and then there might be someone behind there waiting to jump out at you, but again, it somehow does it without it being jumpy. It's very tense, and it's got a great use of sound. So yeah, it kind of, a lot of my favourite moments have been nice surprises about the game that I didn't know were part of the game's mechanics or part of the game in general. So I don't really want to go into it too much. So that's why I thought it'd be good for this podcast. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's bloody good.
So they gave it away for free essentially on Pirate Bay, and asked that you don't buy it from G2A. Would you buy the game now?
Well, yeah, they did send it us, so I would have bought it.
Imagine you were a customer. Did it win you over?
Well,
would
Gareth
that work
said to me,
another?
would you buy the sequel? And I said, I'd buy the actual game, but I've got it twice now. But it's worth it.
Two free versions of the game.
It's really decent. It's worth supporting. And survival horror, Liam absolutely nailed it last week. It basically, survival horror these days is just, you can't fight back, you've got to run away. It's kind of hide and seek simulator. We touched on this quite a lot when we were talking about Resident Evil 7 earlier in the year. This isn't. This is weapons. This is fighting for your life. You feel like you're surviving. You can there's enemies at the door, and they might be coming through the window. You can push cupboards in front of the windows. You can board the windows up. You survive. It's really good, and it keeps survival horror alive. And I've not played the game with that much atmosphere since about Resident Evil 4, so it's if you like some actual proper survival horror, well worth checking out.
That's a really good endorsement of that game.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly, and it only came about really because the guy pulled off an incredible PR move by giving it away for free on Pirate Bay and encouraging people not to use a shitty website. And now we're talking about it. You got positive words to say about it.
I've got to
buy it. So.
Exactly, and we're going to be speaking to them hopefully and getting some cool information about that guy. So keep an eye out for that one.
It'd be cool to know what really prompted him to do it. What was like the straw that broke? What did he see going on in G2A that was like, I don't want to be part of this? What pushed him over the edge? To do
people
this?
Making more money than people who got fake keys making more money than him.
Resellers,
you'd be really pissed
off.
It's like
scalpers almost. It's just like getting batches of stuff and just selling them.
Exactly. So we'll see we're moving obviously, so we'll have to see when it is. But just so you know.
So finally, I guess I just wanted to talk about Uncharted Lost Legacy a little bit, which is, I'm not a fan of the Uncharted series, and I know that's kind of a controversial statement really. I just don't really like it. I've played all of them, or all the way through, 1 through 4, played a bit of the multiplayer. I wouldn't say I hate it or anything like that, but I just I don't kind of see what everyone loves about it. I don't know what it is. Although I admire the craft of it and the cinematicness of it. Uncharted Lost Legacy, I really liked, like, straight away. I played it for about 3 hours, right?
No Nathan Drake, is it?
Well, I'd like Nathan Drake. I don't mind Nathan Drake, but there's things in Uncharted that are just, the complaint that I've always got is, like, he's just a murderer, and he's just going to get getting treasure, and it's all
killing random people who've got families. And may I add?
They're mercenaries and stuff, but. He's like, that's just 15 guys that he just killed, and he's like joking about it. So
I get that. Right, so okay. I totally get that.
There's that, and the climbing, and all the, every time he grabs a ledge, oh, the ledge is broken, press X again, and that ledge is safe now.
Cinematic movement.
So in Lost Legacy, that stuff is all in it, but it's only like a 6-hour game, so it's not padded out with that stuff, right? And it's just the right amount of the ledge is going to crumble. No, it's okay, and it's just it works a lot better in a short form like that, right? And it takes about an hour and a half till you actually get a gun in it, which is cool. And it feels very much almost like a Telltale game for a little while at the beginning, where you don't, without the dialogue obviously, but you're just walking around in a scene, and there's story just coming at you, and it's good. It's really entertaining, and the vibe of it is a lot better. It feels a lot more kind of grounded, I guess. The camera is a lot closer in on Chloe in a couple of the scenes, and it feels pretty like Dead Space-ish almost. You just can't.
It's like a proper follow cam, isn't it? The Resident Evil 4 kind of.
And you're in early on. It's a bit of a spoiler, I guess, but early on you're in kind of a war zone situation, and she's just walking around and trying to avoid the soldiers, and she gets close to the soldiers, and the soldiers get a bit rapey, I guess, as checkpoint soldiers would do, I suppose. And she's just having to deal with all that, and she's not like Nathan Drake. She can't just batter everyone, and that even comes across in the animation of the combat. She struggles with them and stuff. She does win, obviously, because you're just pressing square, like. But
Mike's at the helm, innit?
Well, she just feels like a great character to play as. So does Nathan Drake. Nathan Drake is very well animated. That's one of the best things about the series. Is just the way that he reacts to the world around it. But she is. There's something about the way that she struggles against the enemies and stuff like that. It's kind of like The Last of Us, where Joel is it's like grappling, and it just feels horrible. So she's like that as well. But it's cool. Everything about it I really like. And you drew the comparison with Star Wars, which I thought.
Yeah, I was just trying to. A lot of people have been saying that this is the best one. I noticed a lot of people that say that Lost Legacy is the best one are people that aren't really invested in the universe, kind of like Rogue One, Star Wars Rogue One. If you're not a massive Star Wars fan, a lot of people say that's the best one because it's kind of more self-contained. It's less.
It's a good comparison.
It's not as many loose threads. It's kind of just its own, and it's like a concentrated form. Dare I say? Sorry, Star Wars fans or Uncharted fans, but that's the comparison. That's the way I've been led to believe.
It's a good comparison, I think, because I am a huge Star Wars fan, as evidenced by all the Star Wars T-shirts that I wear. But it's Rogue One is like my least favourite, but I can see how this would not be an Uncharted fan's favourite because there's no Nathan Drake, there's none of the classic stuff in it. But still, I just think it's really good. It's an incredible piece of work. I think it's just the right price. It's like £25.
Yeah,
and for a 6-hour game, that's that, as we saw with Hellblade recently, I think that was well worth the money. And same here as well. I think this is a good value proposition. Nice to see it. It was a weird thing, this, wasn't it? Because it was going to be DLC. It was actually really going to be just a bit of downloadable content that you needed the base game for.
Yeah.
Then it's just transformed and
standalone DLC. They called, didn't they?
And it's got all the multiplayer from Uncharted 4 in it. So you can play all the multiplayer from that, and it's a really good package for £25. I highly recommend it. If you're a big fan of Uncharted series, go for it. But even if you're not, right, like I am, you might enjoy it because I really did. I wasn't expecting to be honest, but I really am liking it. So there you go, Uncharted Lost Legacy. So now, fact of the week. It's a big one this week. It's a decent one. It's my favourite one so far, actually. So fact of the week jingle. Okay, here we go. Sub-Zero's head spine rip fatality, sounds nice, looks exactly like one of the kills in Bad Taste, 1987. So let's move on to the comments. First up this week, Stephen Hughes asks, despite the fact that they're all garbage, what is your favourite video game movie? It's very good, related to the fact of the week there. Excellent work there, Stephen. Mine would have to be Silent Hill. His favourite video game movie.
Yeah. Me and Liam were talking about this in the office, and it was so weird because we happened to look at the question as it was typed out after discussing it. And I even said this on Patreon. I think we agreed. So even though Liam's not here, I'm pretty sure he'd said that the best one was Silent Hill, and I agree with him. It's a real guilty pleasure. The worst thing about it, Sean Bean's accent. Best thing about it, the creepy ghost thing. I mean, it was not that true to the source material, but it got a lot of the cool bits right. It got the ash and snow thing. It got the air raid sirens and stuff. It fucking forced in loads of Silent Hill 2 deep stuff for the sake of like, ooh, Pyramid Head, which really sucked because Silent Hill 2 is so deep and meaningful, and it made it spectacle. But I actually really liked it, so I would say Silent Hill 2 is my favourite. I when I was little, I liked the Mortal Kombat thing, but who the fuck takes the opinion of a 9-year-old, eh? So who cares what 9-year-old Jake thought? Silent Hill is my favourite.
Very nice. I can't think of a good one. I think they're all shite. I can't think of a good movie based on a video game. I really can't.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that. I don't watch a lot of video. I haven't seen a lot of video game movies, so the one that does stick out for me that I kind of enjoyed the first few installments was Resident Evil, and that's a bit of a guilty pleasure because everyone rags on it, but the first couple were all right.
It became really self-aware towards the end. Like they knew everyone was ragging on it, and then they kind of done it on purpose, haven't they? Like there's like dragons and all that in it now. But the
very first one was decent. The second one, but I mean,
it's all right. Resident Evil 1. I mean, again, it's really annoying because they never stick to the source material because they try to appeal to the mass audience.
I was never a big Resident Evil game fan, so
exactly.
I guess that's probably why I
but it's decent enough. It had an alright.
I'm not
budget.
saying I love the films. I'm just saying I enjoyed watching.
You've got to pick the best of a bad bunch.
I'm gonna get so ragged, aren't I?
No,
I've literally not watched any other game.
It's like you're not missing out. There's nothing to how would you top that?
You watched the World of Warcraft one?
Just Warcraft.
No,
that was like decent apparently, wasn't it? But I haven't seen it, so I can't say.
That's it. I've not played the game, not seen the films. So.
Some critics was saying, it's fine, it's alright. It's just a high fantasy type thing, and it was, it was actually pretty good.
I wonder how many of those are World of Warcraft fans, though. There's a Metal Gear Solid movie being made by Jordan Voight Roberts, who did Kong Skull Island, and he actually just did the Destiny 2 live action trailer.
Right, yeah.
He's working with Hideo Kojima on that together, so that could be good. And there's this Last of Us development hell situation where there might be a movie of it, there might not, but the Metal Gear Solid one, eyes peeled.
There's one thing I've noticed recently, just to digress before we move on, is that how closely the video game industry is connected with the movie industry, because a lot, like pretty much all of us in the office talk about movies a lot.
Oh yeah,
and like there's a lot of people who are interested or play games. They love movies too.
Yeah,
and it's I don't know, it's that crossover where movies, they used to make games about movies, but now they're making movies about games. Yeah, it's like it's a weird transition because the gaming industry is bigger than the movie industry now. It's just an interesting thought that I had.
It's a big crossover, yeah.
Even the other way around, the crossovers, like games based on movies, like historically, are just shit, like made by developers just to sell to go with the launch of a game. That really doesn't happen that much anymore.
Don't listen to them, GoldenEye.
But it's
still beautiful to me, baby.
Yeah, obviously, but there's loads of like all the Ice Age and all that shit.
Chicken Run.
Yeah, just games to make a bit more money off the movie, you know what I mean? But there's decent examples, like Mad Max wasn't really a game of the movie, but Mad Max was heavily inspired by the Fury Road, and it was fucking cool. I recently played it, and it's cool. And Star Wars Battlefront, that came out in 2015, that was there to promote The Force Awakens, and that's why it released early. And same again this year, the Star Wars Battlefront 2 is going to come out, just in time to start promoting the movie this year. So it's
very well connected, the two industries.
Yeah, a lot of like IGN, don't they? They do like all the film reviews and all that, and it's because there is a big crossover crowd. People just like to be in a different world for a bit.
Pop culture, isn't it? It's comic book kind of pop culture. It's all part of one big kind of melting pot, I guess.
Pretty good movies coming out.
I was going to say, is this foreshadowing, guys? Who knows?
So Knife Van Dan asks, what games do you guys feel is most improved by modding? So he was using the Rome Total War 2 as an example of a game that got panned at release, which it did. It was a mess, and he says it's been much improved by modding, which I would agree with. And they've updated it, and it's all very nice now. But the mods played a crucial role in that. He says not like Skyrim, because Skyrim came out and was like Game of the Year contender when it came out. So a game that was shit and was kind of saved by modding. Can you guys think of any examples?
No, I was going to say I had Oblivion, and it was infinitely better with modding.
It is,
I took away all the loading screens.
Yeah.
I could see into houses through the windows. You can
very similar to Skyrim, really. Batch of mods.
Exactly. A lot of mods like that. But to be honest, I'm not really that hot on the old modern scene.
You're more of a modder.
Yeah, but I would have to say that a lot of the games that do have the best mods are also pretty well received games, because the Fallout series have also got awesome mods, and Fallout 3 I spent a lot of time modding. Skyrim I spent a lot of time modding. Medieval Total War 2 was one that which is an old Total War game, but that I've spent loads of time modding that, and there's like conversion mods that just make it a total different game. Rome is definitely a cracking example of a game that was just not good. Badly reviewed. Rome 2 was badly reviewed and everything. It came out and it was saved by mods and later the updates from the actual developers. So mods are really important, I think, and they don't get enough of a conversation around them. I don't think people realise, unless you've dipped into it, the power of what they can actually do.
Yeah, exactly. I'm testament to that, because it's a good question, but I'm like thinking, I don't really know. I only know the games that are worth modding because they're so good by themselves, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, there's Knights of the Republic 2, which is one of my favourite games of all time, if not the, and it's like that wasn't reviewed very well largely because of cut content. They couldn't finish the game, right? A mod came out, obviously, and finished the story off, and there was a whole other area, a whole other planet, and the whole other storyline that just fans made to sort all that out. So cool. It can definitely happen, and it's very positive when it does. So Blake Walden asks, do you think that we should develop games for old consoles? So he's saying the release of Star Fox 2, which is coming as part of the SNES Mini, which never saw the light of day on the classic SNES. Could we make games for the N64 or the PS2? The benefits, he says, you'd know everything about the consoles. You'd know the limitations. You'd know the tricks to use them, efficiently. You'd know how to maximize that unit, and you might get a decent experience making a game for an old system. What do you guys think?
For me, no, I don't think. I'd like to experience what new technologies and the best of what the gaming industry has to offer. And I don't see it being a profitable move for a developer, only limiting themselves to an old piece of hardware that a questionable amount of people might still own. So I don't see it as a decent prospect for me as personally, or for the industry as a whole. Yeah,
it sounds like more of a very niche and expensive, like something to do with a collector's edition. So like Shovel Knight, for example, it's made to be like a NES game, right? I could see them making like a £170 collector's edition that comes with a NES version of the game, or NES, whatever, or stuff like that. I can see it becoming like a bit of some bands, like as a bit of a gimmick. They'll put their albums out on tapes and stuff. It seems like a bit of a gimmick. So maybe stuff like Hollow Knight on a PlayStation 1 disc is like people, or a Kickstarter backer. It sounds like more of a reward for people who are collectors, because ultimately, like guys are saying, your game's going to roll out onto an old console. Not many people are going to have PlayStation 1s knocking about. Well, I bet there's loads of people that are listening that do, but I mean, in terms of all these the newer players. So yeah, it seems like more of a really hardcore reward. People would really need it.
That's a good point.
It's interesting to note as well that the PS2 is still got the biggest install base in the world when it comes to consoles, because people in Brazil and whatever and India and places like that, they still buy FIFA every year and on the PS2. That's why they've been, I don't know if that still goes, but up until very, very recently, they would still release like FIFA 15, FIFA 16, whatever, on the PlayStation 2.
Wow. Because
there's so many people that still... So, it's an interesting topic, but I think it's like legal complications as well. Like, how easy would it be to get something onto a SNES cartridge these days if you really wanted to do it? How, does Nintendo even have the capability to make that happen for you now? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's a difficult question. It would be interesting, and it definitely would get headlines, obviously, for sure. It would, like Jake says, it would be niche, but everyone would be talking about it. If they were bringing a game back for the N64, you can bet your ass we'd make a video on it.
Wipeout. Fucking hell, it took me ages to say Wipeout. Then I was like, ooh, Wipeout. That sounds like, anyway, whatever. Basically, they put out for their collector's edition a gimmicky little case that looked like a PlayStation 1 case. Yeah. It got headlines. Imagine if they fucking put it out on
the PS1.
You know what I mean? Yeah. That is a headline.
So like you're saying,
that's a gimmick. It's a gimmick.
So, okay, that's a good question. And October Comstock asks, he's got a long question
about... His name really October?
I don't know.
That's well good.
That's his screen name, I was saying.
So he's got a very long question here about Destiny 2 and PvE. I did read all of it, October, if that's your name, but I can't get through all now. But he says, sorry for the rant, but it drives me crazy when a developer tries to fix what isn't broken when there is so much that is broken. What do you guys think about balancing PvP and PvE in this game, Destiny 2? Do you think it can be done, or are they two separate playstyles and will never equate to each other when it comes to optimizing your loadout and strategy? So in Destiny 2, What he's talking about here is that PvP and PvE, they're trying to unify the experience so it feels exactly the same, doesn't matter what thing you're doing. Doesn't matter if you're fighting other players or which is very close to what they had in Destiny 1, but they've really gone pretty far with it this time. And that is why we were talking about things earlier, like the super recharge thing. That was to balance it for PvP so that it felt a bit more special.
Yeah,
same
that's
with
why
the
they took
special
out
ammo.
Snipers.
Yeah,
in the fucking PvE mode.
Yes, exactly.
Because of people in the Crucible.
Major design decisions for a game that's all about shooting stuff, right?
Yes.
So they've tried to mash this one thing together, and you know they've just had negative feedback. I like the idea, right? I think it's a good idea to have a gun and know how it handles and how it uses, and you have a special ability you know exactly how to use because you've been using it on thousands and thousands of AI enemies, and then you go into the Crucible and like, okay, now use it on real people. You're comfortable with it. You compare that to COD, right, where you've never had a kill streak up to like 7 before. Suddenly you get it, and now you're in a fucking helicopter or something. You don't know how to fly it, and then boom, it's over. It's gone. You've had that special ability and you didn't make the most of it, and you probably won't see it again for another 6 months if you're anything like I am. So it's a really good way of getting you really familiar with the whole breadth of your abilities, like from the very basics to the very advanced where and when to use your super ability, and you just take that knowledge with you into the multiplayer competitive side. I think that's the intention behind it. I think it's a good idea, but they just haven't balanced it right.
It's two separate entities, and I think they should treat it like such. Call of Duty's campaign is going to be pure, authentic, swastika filled. The multiplayer has got no swastikas, and you can make yourself non-authentic or whatever, and they're two separate entities. You see what I'm saying here? People are treating it like that's one thing. They've treated it like it's two things. I'm upset about Destiny 2, what they did with PvE for the Crucible, because it's two separate entities, and people will traditionally verge towards one more heavily. There's hardcore play versus player Overwatch types, and then there's people that want to chill. And the fact that I'm getting to not snipe people because of the fucking Crucible, for fuck's sake.
It is annoying. It is annoying that
blanket ban, basically.
It's I think there is a balance to be struck there to make it work right. But they just haven't managed it. They've punished the PvE too much. So
what they've done they've nerfed PvE is basically what they've done.
So PvE
rather than they just made them both shit, where one was good, one was shit. They just made them both shit. Is that fair? I don't know. Anyway, that's it.
It's an interesting question, but I think it's one for Destiny purists. So that's the thing with that. So good question anyway, October, very detailed. Thanks for leaving that comment. Matthew John Jenkins. Another great podcast, very much. My question to everyone is, what do you want to happen with games in the future? What sort of thing would you all like to see? So the example he gives, I would love it if there was no generic things like microtransactions anymore, and that might lead to games being more genuine, like back in the day. He says he's starting to show signs of his age. He's an older gamer, but what would you like to see? Well, exactly that. Less of the bollocks from the last 10 years, basically, isn't it? Just fairer prices, fairer practices.
More like innovation. Try different things. Try new things. You're right, you'll make mistakes, but you might get someone to fall in love. You might get a whole new cult following. You might get a new IP. I don't know. I feel like the games these days are entrenched in just like the way tried and tested ways of doing things.
Assassin's Creed 2 has got a lot to...
I think they just need to break out and just try something different. Just be inventive.
I wonder if they can get procedural generation right. I mean, I like it when people come in and tell me a story about a game they've played that I've never experienced. Battlegrounds does well for that, because it's like, oh mate, the other day I did this, I did this, I did this. No Man's Sky, I found this planet, it's like this. But what's in that planet? Fuck all, empty. Imagine having a game full of content, but it's unique to you. Like you'd be like listening to other people. It would make it, because it would be good for future for Let's Players, for Twitch streamers, because you could watch someone playing their game. That's awesome. Then you can play your game, and it's not spoilt because it's completely unique. And then people.
It's kind of like what Minecraft tapped into, isn't it?
It would encourage players. Like you could watch a Let's Player. A Let's Player might be dead lucky and get something amazing happen to him. That'd be good for his views. It'll be good for you to watch. It'll not happen to you. So I think making it more tailored, more personal to people, probably through procedural generation. That's what I want to see. I want to see content so it makes people feel like storytellers. It makes people excited to share unique experiences rather than just go on the game's wiki and can see everything. And I want people to not be able to just go and follow walkthroughs and guides. I want people to just experience it themselves, and I think that's the key to it.
I've got a very specific thing, right? I want Total War and games like that to be expanded in scope, to be like epic battle simulator or whatever. So you've rather than have 2,000 or 3,000 soldiers or whatever on each side, just have that scaled up to whatever might have been historically accurate. So the tens of thousands of soldiers or something like that.
I doubt there would have been that many battles with tens of thousands of medieval soldiers.
Yeah, there would. Not depends on the setting. Alexander and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I guess. I guess you're right.
Yeah. Like Rome and Carthage and stuff, and you get like
tens of thousands though. That's
yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah. You get like dozens. So you say you get like 6 elephants in a battle now, right?
Right.
6 elephants.
Okay.
Like they would have had regiments of elephants. They would have had yes. Yeah, they would have had
We'll have to fact check this, Mike.
I want to believe you, but I can't envision it. I can't imagine.
Let me explain to you exactly what's in my mind. Okay, there's in Rome Total War 2. It's the question from earlier that reminded me. In Rome Total War 2, there's a siege of Carthage which they were like, oh, the scope is unbelievable, and it's like the city is enormous. Yeah. And there's like 2,000 or 3,000 soldiers camped outside, and that's it. It's like the city would have been surrounded by soldiers, and there would have been
camps and stuff. Like, innit?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think the population of countries and that was so much lower back in the day. I mean, let me put my I mean, you can
I'm 100% confident of what I'm saying here.
Yeah,
I promise you this.
I'm talking like what I'm saying is like a lot of battles back in the day. I mean, I'm not 100% positive, but there would normally be like a couple of thousand maximum. A big army was a couple of thousand people back in the day. I remember seeing recently visiting.
Oh.
Yeah, I swear to God. I mean, you think about the population of the country back in like you're talking 1 million people.
It depends what you're. It depends where you're. Who saw this coming?
This is an interesting discussion, but all it needs doing is we need to fact check historical battles.
Okay, but can I sidestep that for a second then? Okay, now let me take you to Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, the Battle for Pelennor Fields, right?
Yeah.
And there's like
you're talking about games. You're not talking about like historical accuracy here.
I'm saying
you're drawing games as your.
I'm saying I want more soldiers in Total War games, right?
Yeah,
that was historically.
That would be more like historic. So what I meant by that was there would be more soldiers involved than there are, right? Which isn't a lot, right? So in Lord of the Rings, okay, you've got the battle for when they besiege Minas Tirith, and the soldiers just stretch out for it's like an ocean, right?
Yeah,
and it's spectacular. You don't ever get anything quite on that scale in Total War. It's just like. It's like a factor of 10, just kind of too small. It's just, I don't know. So I'd like to just have like huge
3,000 soldiers.
Yeah, honestly.
Enough. Yeah.
It's not. It's really not. Give me fucking 30. Give me 30, 40.
You're a fucking maniac. That's what you are. 30,000
I want more people to die, please.
I have trouble controlling just what I've got.
Yeah,
never mind.
Let's have a look.
This is softer.
Oh, one of the most well-known battles.
Yeah, well, exactly.
They're googling it.
This is going to
be
fun.
Live fact checking. Total, there you go. See, strength 73,000 on one side, 118,000 on the other.
The biggest battle that you can probably think of the top of your head.
That's a lot, though.
That's what I'm talking about. Siege of Carthage, right? The exact one I was talking about.
So while you're waiting for this, we're going to get a new set.
Let me ask you another question,
and then I'll ask you new set. It's going to be nice. We're going to have a high table. It's going to be a bigger set.
This was going to be a short one.
Everyone's going to have laptops.
All right, let's get going with this. Let's multitask. Matthew John Jenkins, another great. That's the one that I'm answering now. Taurus Trio. Am I the only one who's relieved that Bethesda are not currently working on a Game of Thrones game? If you could pick a dev or a studio studios to collaborate to make a Game of Thrones game, who would it be? I'd pick CD Projekt Red.
Obsidian.
Who'd make it?
Obsidian would be the best, but they're not doing it. They're not doing it. I mean,
they came out and said they defused it.
Yeah, which is good. Like we were saying last week, it's good because it shows integrity. Although that was before Game of Thrones was a show, when it was just a book, and he said no. So I wonder what happens if they were asked now, when there was millions and millions and millions of dollars behind it, if that would change their opinion. To be honest with you, I don't think that they would change. I think they're pretty cool guys. I think Bethesda makes some pretty tight games. I know it's not a very popular opinion. I really like the Elder Scrolls Online, and I like all the little books inside the world, and it would be good.
It would be popular to complain about, but it would be.
People would be hating it. On YouTube, but they'd be like, because imagine like the Citadel, like off Game of Thrones this season, like going to the Citadel, reading all the books in the library. You know that they'd do it well. Like it would be good, and they've got shit character animations, they've got shit facial animations. It would be buggy. And my favourite comment that I saw on our YouTube video was that if you played the Bethesda version, they'd let you be the Grand Maester, the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and the Night's King all at once. Yeah, because in Skyrim you can become everything, which is funny.
You can join all the clubs and the clans.
Exactly. But it would have been good, but Obsidian would have done it the best. I reckon they would have done it like very like pen and paper D&D. I'm doing this to buy time with you. Have you given up?
Oh yeah, fact check.
I guess facts. So
okay. So the exact battle that I was talking about,
club over here.
Siege of Carthage, 400,000 soldiers. 17,000 soldiers were killed, which is like 10,000 more than you can actually get in the game. They died in it, and there was 400,000 people involved.
Okay. I'll accept that.
Okay, just to balance that out. Okay, just as a point of reference, like I'm talking about like the Roman Empire in its early days. We're talking up to 31 BC. The whole of the Roman Empire, this is an interesting fact. The whole of the Roman Empire consisted of a force between 16,000 and 20,000.
16 and 20.
But that would have been standing army, see, if they were going to besiege Carthage.
We're talking legionaries. We're talking
exactly. They were the
legions.
tip-top ones.
Yeah.
They would have thousands and thousands of levies who'd have just spears and things to throw and slings and stuff like that. And then if they were going to besiege Carthage, they would recruit all those. They'd force them. They'd conscript them.
That's
to fight.
true. I mean, the one-off set pieces that you're talking about.
That's what I'm saying. It's just not possible now to have the siege, because they hyped up Siege of Carthage like it was a complete game changer for Total War, and it wasn't. Right? They just had like, you still had 20 units like normal, but although you could like add more in through merging armies and stuff, but it wasn't as practical as they made it to sound, and it wasn't as big as they made it sound. Like there's no way you could have more than like 20,000 or anything, whereas the Siege of Carthage was fought by 400,000 people. I just want more people to murder, and I want more soldiers to die for
a grander scale.
Country. Yeah, exactly.
I get that, Mike.
I want the ground to rumble when they're marching.
I get that, but the battles you're talking about, there'd be like huge one-off battles in your game. If you want it historically accurate, which is what the point that you made. Whereas the regular, I'm talking about the average battle, might be a couple of thousand versus a couple of thousand.
So you're trampling on my dreams here, guys.
I'm sorry. You can still have it. I'm still with you on it, Mike. I just wanted to fact check you a little bit. Just so that your idea of what exactly was happening was. Are
you doing that on purpose, Dick?
Staring at the camera.
We're recording a podcast, by the way.
I have nothing to add to this grand.
I just find it interesting. Like you played Crusader Kings 2 or whatever, and you've got like an army of 600. Now that's a meaty army. And you can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, Crusader Kings is like you're playing as a house.
That's historically accurate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like in Wales and stuff like that, like the battles would have been nothing.
It might be a few hundred people. That's an army. Like that's a reasonable army. And for me, it's decent enough.
It's like the movie 300, right? It's called 300. But there was like 7,000 Greeks there. In reality, they just had like 1,000 Spartans or something, and then for somehow through like Chinese whispers has become Is that, am I right to say that? I've said it now anyway. It's gotten down to 300, and that's like so there would have been like a. This is boring. Like I don't.
I tried to buy a "Make America Great Again" hat yesterday, so I could wear it to EGX and cover it the word America in duct tape and replace it with BioWare, but they were all sold out.
Oh.
Just thought I thought I'd segue off.
I feel a lot better about myself.
We've already done the factory.
Yeah.
You're a good man, Jake. That's just like taking the bullet for us then. Just like,
because it would have been it would have been it would have been funny if it was Make BioWare Great Again, but the sad reality is Make America Great Again hats were all sold out.
This is what happens.
So you're saying political commentary now as well.
This is what happens when two like historical like army nerd.
You want to know why I play fucking EA Skate?
Start arguing about size of armies. Like it's not important to anyone.
I've got a new history club starting next week, by the way. You must have a GCSE in history to join. Logan Knapp, Jake, on your comment that everyone should give up on praying for Half-Life 3. So you said everyone should give up expecting Half-Life 3.
I did.
Should we feel the same way or say the same thing to people like me who are praying for another Knights of the Old Republic? If so, why? I think no, by the way. Knights of the Republic's going to happen.
No, I don't. I just... Half-Life in particular, because it's not happening. Just face it. They've said no. They've said... They started saying yeah, then they said maybe, then they're saying nothing. And now they're releasing card games and pissing everyone off and being Valve. And it's just not happening. But it's okay to hope for games. I mean, join the Bring Back Tenchu Club if you want. I mean, we're open... for positions if you want. Tenchu, Skate 4, Knights of the Old Republic, BioWare when they were good, anything would be good. It's okay to hope and dream. I'm not saying crush all that and live in the cold, real, disgusting world. I'm just saying with Half-Life 3, when it comes out, if it comes out, which it won't by the way, it won't be good. So just give up. Knights of the Old Republic 3 though, Nah, I mean there'll be Anthem, and they might do it. They might eventually do it.
Star Wars
and if they
now.
do it, it'll probably be good. So keep hoping, baby. Well, we can't say for sure. We can't say for sure, can we? It might be fucking Twin Rider.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
I just want to just say thanks to Logan for providing the opportunity for Jake to get his Tenchu mention in of the week. The Tench Mensch. Thanks, Logan.
Thanks for fucking enabling me.
So now, Andy Elliott asked a few questions separately, but I just had to pick one, Andy. Do you guys think Sega should create an official Mega Drive classic like the NES SNES classic? I think it would sell well if they produced enough units, unlike Nintendo. Good point. Definitely.
I might buy one of those.
Mega Drive classic, totally.
For those that are listening outside of the UK and Europe, that's the Sega Genesis. We call it Mega Drive over here, so you're up to date, babe.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, I've some proper games on that, like GoldenEye, Streets of Rage. Man.
Oh yeah,
classics, some good ones, real good ones. I never owned one.
The controller's better as well.
I used to go to my friend's house and play it because I never owned one, so it always seemed better because I always felt like I always had like a rush time limit, so everything. So I've got fonder memories of that, if anything, because it was always a good game. But that would sell well. I mean, Sega are doing things like that, aren't they? They're bringing a lot of things back. So yeah, I could maybe even see it happening.
The Atari box or something like that. That was another recent one, isn't it? Trying to hop on to the old
wooden thing.
Mini classics. Yeah, it's definitely a possibility, and they would be daft not to. I think it's like you said. It's if as long as they make enough.
Yeah,
I'd be very happy.
At
with
least
that.
two of us in Pretty Good Game would buy it.
Yeah,
at
there
least.
you go.
Smash Tommy, as at least two of you are musicians, what games stand out to you because of the music and why? Games that stand out because of the music.
That's all I listen to.
So many.
Donkey Kong Country has got the best soundtrack ever. David Wise, best. And by best, I mean my favourite. I don't mean the best. Legend of Zelda, amazing soundtrack. But Donkey Kong Country, Curse of Monkey Island, amazing soundtrack. Legend of Zelda, though, and Donkey Kong Country, it's the best ever.
You turned this a mark off worth about.
Guys, Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong Country is the best soundtrack ever. Ever. All
right, I think you might have said that now. I think the best soundtrack from a game, I don't really connect with game soundtracks a lot because they're repetitive, right? You hear them over and over again. And it's like, I don't know. But Mafia 3 was a decent one because it was like 60s music.
It's like
right?
a playlist, but it was a really good.
It was awesome.
Well implemented as well. Yeah. They used it at the right time.
Actual, sort of like how Fallout Radio is, like proper songs.
Yeah.
So good. 60s music, like proper decent Johnny Cash and all that. Like, awesome music.
Okay, cool. I thought you might have meant like styled 60s.
Yeah. No.
So New Orleans is also, it's like a cultural kind of hub for the time as well. So.
Any game with the band, a song from the band, the band in, gets a fucking tick. So it by default.
That's interesting. I reckon a lot of people will say Fallout 3 actually. What I just a lot of people like that, don't they? The whole whatever era was that, 30s or something.
Yeah, 50s, isn't it? It's all like, but the music was, they had some tracks from the 40s and stuff. Anyway, for me, it's definitely Transistor. And that's no surprise to anyone who's listened to the channel recently. Transistor's music is huge, and just sounds in general as well is so important to get you in, to evoke the feeling of the world that it's trying to get, that it's trying to draw you into. Transistor's really just immaculate. There's the guy who composes all the music for all of Supergiant games, so Pyre, Bastion, and Transistor. He's done all of them. And I think the vocalist, the female vocalist, uses the same for all of them as well. And they're just immaculate pieces of work, and it just is 50% of what makes the game so amazing. The way it's used. You
definitely got a good point there. I think you tapped on it. The way I see it is that if you notice that a game, because it's supposed to immerse you so much that the music's supposed to be there as
background.
As background. And so if you notice in the music, then it's kind of not doing its job right because you're like, hang on, what is this? And that's so for me, sometimes like I don't notice the music a lot in games because it's part of the experience.
When
and I don't appreciate it, I guess. I'm not analysing it, I'm just in the experience.
I'll tell you what, another good soundtrack, modern one. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, proper good soundtrack. And the woman who did the composing for it, she's got her own weekly show on Classic FM now when she does video game music. I listen to it quite a bit.
Yes,
and,
I know about
Jessica Curry, her name is, and she won a BAFTA for the Everybody's Gone to the Rapture soundtrack. They hired in like a proper choir. It's really just good music. Like it's not like chiptune-y video game stuff. It's proper good music. And she's got a show. And if you are interested in video game music, you can just check out that on YouTube. Jessica Curry's Classic FM show, and she goes through and she brings them to life with symphonies and choirs, you know. So it's proper good. So if you are interested in that, yeah, well worth checking out.
There you go. Big Pink Boy asks, what is it that separates PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds from other games like it? I've played H1Z1 and thought it was just okay, so I can't understand all the excitement over something that seems very similar. Is it really that different, or is it just the lucky one out of the Battle Royale bunch that gets all the hype? I'll leave this to you guys.
I've not played H1Z1, so I can't really comment, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just there's something about it, isn't there?
I think that. And I think about this recently, but the thing about PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds that makes it so unique and so beautiful is that there's no progression system. I think that's the key element to it. There's you don't level up. You don't, there's no card there's no kill streaks or all that.
No meta.
Everybody's at the same level when you jump into the game, and it lasts 30 minutes, and then it's all refreshed again. Yeah. That is it, and that's because it's so simple and it's so quick, and it's like a bite-sized kind of entertainment. You can play it for 5 minutes, play for half an hour, and just get enjoyment. You don't. There's no persistent world. There's nothing like that. Yeah. It's just you jump in at the same level as everyone else. Try to win. If you win or you don't, and it's fun because of just what it is. Because it's so simple.
Or you have a bad game, like that's it, isn't it? You know,
it's just simple.
Yeah,
it's so simple.
Yeah.
There you go. Simplicity is the key there. Gritty Gaming. Hey guys, new patron here. In relation to the debate you all had about the viability, you did say y'all by the way, had about the viability of indies going AAA. Do you think there is any room for innovation in the industry, as in entirely new genres and the like? If so, what new genres or mixes of genres would you like to see? So
they've started mixing genres loads now.
Yeah.
You look at Mountain Blade. That is like an RPG action strategy simulator. It's so many different.
There's nothing else like it, is there? I mean, if I would say mainstream game, the closest one is maybe For Honor, and that does Mountain Blade such a huge injustice. I can't even tell you. What else is there? What else is there that kind of matches up?
Well, it's like cooking, isn't there? There's so many ingredients that you might not find any more ingredients, but it's the way you put it together. You can still make unique tastes and stuff.
You can't invent new herbs.
Even barbecue sauce. There's like 100 types of barbecue sauce on the shelves everywhere. They all taste pretty different, and you'll still find a new favourite every now and then. So they don't need to really invent new genres. Maybe they will find perfect blends
of technology with VR and things like that.
Yeah, so I think that's a way of looking at it. So even though the genres might be limited, the amount of combinations are unlimited, and the way that they're implemented, as well as artistic style and vision, it means unlimited style games. And we are seeing stuff like Mountain Blade, proper unique. Neo Automata, loads of different styles in there, really unique. And just more of that, please. It's not about trying to break out and make a whole new genre. It's just about getting the balance right.
I think there's something to be said for mastering genres, things that other games have done and established, and then another game comes along and does it better.
Don't be afraid to just go in at something that's already well known and just do it better. It's happened. Horizon Zero Dawn was just a generic open world game on paper. It just did it a lot better than other ones, and there we go. It's been hailed
and it literally took things, just completely ripped them from other games and just did them its own way, and it's
exactly.
And it's a wonderful product in my eyes. Destiny is a big kind of genre definer for me. Destiny, The Division, is something that Ubisoft are trying to do a lot. Like you MMO light, which is Destiny 2 is an MMO light. Okay, it's an MMO kind of experience that's just bottled up and kind of concentrated, and it's like all the key ingredients of an MMO, minus the subscription, and you just play it like an MMO, but it's not really the fact that it's a point of debate shows that it's kind of a new thing, that they've got a shooter, but then it's also an RPG that you level up, and it's also got an end game, and it's got all these MMOs. Social space is the crucial thing. It's got all these MMO-ish elements. You're dressing up and having different bits of armor and having a unique character. They've matched that in with a shooter, so that's another example of games just kind of genres coming together and something kind of new coming out of it, I guess.
That was a better explanation than just saying fuck off twice. I mean,
it's 3 times, wasn't it? If I'd have done it the 3.
It was a 3.
Yeah, you got criticism for your retort on the previous video.
Yeah.
But in the office, he said fuck off 3 times, so I was expecting the 3 fuck offs, and he only managed 2, so it wasn't as convincing.
Yeah.
All I can say is it did add further depth and clarity to the situation. It really rounded things off with that third strike of the blade.
You wouldn't have thought to fuck off 3 times.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have thought to fight back after 3.
Exactly. You just play dead. You just poss them out. Man.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want a 4th one. Josh Northall, we'll close off with Josh Northall. What are your guys' opinions on episodic games? As I'm a big Final Fantasy fan, and I'm scared of what being an episodic game means for the Final Fantasy VII remake. I've never played an episodic game following the episodes. I've played Telltale games, but they've all been like the whole series.
You've waited till they're out, yeah.
What about you guys?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I've only played episode. I mean, of games that I've bought and I've only been able to play the first episode. It's so frustrating. It's annoying as hell. Like, I see why they do it, but for me, it's not for me. I want to play the whole. I want to be able to finish the story as and when I like, not by someone else's schedule. So I'm not a fan of it. No. I don't promote it. Just release your game. Episodic is
this is a Square Enix thing in particular.
I think Telltale smashed it, didn't they? First, like
but the fact that the Hitman is a AAA shooter, and then they've just broken it up. Final Fantasy is the same.
Carving it all
Life is Strange. I mean, I played Walking Dead season 2 and waited for it, and I did Game of Thrones, Telltale, and waited for it. It's because it's more like cinematic and stuff. I've got high hopes for Final Fantasy VII. One of the best games ever, right? Probably my favourite childhood game when I think of it. It's not the best game for me now, but I remember at the time loving it. And I've got such high hopes, so many amazing parts. And I'm worried about the episodes. What are they going to do? Is Midgar going to be episode 1? Are they going to go to Calm or Junion? Where's episode 1 going to end? Where's episode 2 going to come in? Is it any different than having 3 discs or whatever, like in the first one? Yeah. But imagine getting 3 discs, but each disc came out months later. Also, with the way that development works now, and how meaty Final Fantasy VII is, as we already know, are there going to be years of waiting between the episodes? Is it going to be like Hitman, where it's going to be weekly content, monthly content? Is it going to be like Telltale, where it's going to be every 2 months? It's just, there's too many questions. And when you want to buy a game, you kind of just want a simple decision. Yeah. Do I want a game? Yes, I want a game. Do I want to play it? Yes, please. Not like, and I have to like schedule my next 2-3 years. Fucking hell.
With Telltale, there was a big headline recently about, well, it was big for me anyway, the fact that Tales from the Borderlands, they just basically gave up on it near the end because no one bought the first 3 episodes. So the final two episodes, I think it was it was finished by a skeleton crew who were working overtime because the company was like, well, there's no money in this, so we like divert our resources to someone else, and they leave a very small crew of people to finish the job on these games, which inevitably means they're not going to be as good as the beginning of the series. So the quality can actually go down depending on the reception. So it is a bit of a gamble when you buy into.
Well, when the ending of a story is dictated by how well the beginning sells, that's a bit of a danger. That isn't it? It's a bit like how a TV show is scheduled. But I mean, Game of Thrones might be a year and a half away, which means it might come out in 2019, and even that's stressing me out. So God knows what it'll be like with Final Fantasy fucking 7, and I'm very upset about it. I really hope that they're going to change their mind, but they're probably not.
That's the way it is.
So there we go. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your comments, everyone. If you want us to answer your questions, just respond to this post on our Patreon feed. Ask us a nice, simple question, and we'll try and get it answered for you next week. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Next time you'll see us, we'll be in another room,
that's the last one in this room.
It's very emotional.
Let's say goodbye.
Meaningless to you, pretty much. But
let's say goodbye now.
See you next time.